All right, Ricardo, it's your first day on the job, you stupid rat. Things work a little bit differently here in the casino, here in Chiron. I know you're used to your technologically advanced digs, but you're gonna have to earn your keep. I need to find a way to entertain my guests. Can you come up with something? If you do that, I'll reduce your sentence. Excellent. I see you brought a friend with you from Memoria's place. I'm just here with Ricardo testing a new machine that we put together. You guys want to go for a ride? Yeah, we've been looking for somebody to test our new roller coaster. Hop on in. It's pretty big. Oh, don't worry about that. Don't worry about that. Have fun, you two. So, Ricardo, what did you call this again? The euthanasia coaster. What an exotic name. I wonder what that means. Oh. So, how are you feeling after your little trip? You like the new friend I brought to play with you? Oh, come on, you're such a coward. It's educational today. You'd rather be around your owl, I see how it is. You're such a brat. Now, let me enlighten you a bit more on some different methods. We're here to teach you about things today, you know? Different methods included things like, of execution, by the way, things like the breaking wheel. I think this one's a personal favorite of mine. How it works is that they would strap the limbs to the wheel, and then they would have another wheel that they strap the torso to, and then they'd crank it, and that would snap the limbs off the torso. It would still be attached, but like, look, that we've got Ricardo, you know, showing us how it works. You didn't like that? You want everything, don't you? Okay. How about, what about this next one? You see, I'm trying to implement new, not punishment strategies, encouragement strategies in the casino. We've also got, and you know what? When I need ideas, I turn to human history because you guys just have the best ideas. So another one I was looking at was burning at the stake. It's like it's a European tradition. Yes? What are you doing? Guys, you're screwing up my presentation! I need him! You sons of bitches. Anyway. You guys, you can't just... It's so rare to get an engineer in the casino. You leave him alone. Anyway, so another... Memoria, I think we need to have a talk. This is grotesque. All right, why don't we go through a little bit more of a standardized list. I think having a presentation is it's getting a little out of hand. I'm losing valuable staff. It's so difficult to find good staff these days. Anyway, how's everybody doing? All right. I had larger plans, I will say. I was gonna have a whole, like, setup of 20 of these little scenarios. Oh, I just deleted my rat. But then I ran into really bad technical difficulties on the YouTube side of things, and that kind of screwed up my plans. So we're just gonna go through the rest of the list, and then we're gonna go and have, like, a little bit of a rant. A little bit of a nice conversation about why I personally am for the death penalty when it's brought into question, because I know a lot of people out there are very anti-death penalty. One second, I thought we were going to cover the torture method that involves milk and honey. Oh, did that one not pop up? Oh my god, wait! No, there was one more! Did it not export? Hold on, no, literally, I did do that one. Oh, I'm like an idiot. Okay, guys, here's one more. This one was my favorite, too. I can't believe I forgot it. Anyway, this particular one is scaphism. And what happens is you, trap your victim in a boat, you slather them in milk and honey, and you leave them on the water, and then the bugs eat them slowly. Man. It's so funny you brought that one up. Yeah, so you call it the diarrhea boat. That's crazy. But no, some other methods that I've decided, for the sake of my wait staff, we are not going to show. I'm unsure as to why I'm here. We're having fun, okay? We're just being a little goofy today. We're having a little bit of lighthearted fun. Still on the breaking wheel, because there was also one where you broke people with the wheel. There was two different methods, two different breaking wheels, so to speak. I picked the one that I actually found video demonstrations of. Yeah. No, but like, here we got scaphism. That one was one that was often used in Persia, which was the boat one. Used under King Artaxerxes II. The breaking wheel was a European one, by and large, throughout medieval and Renaissance Europe. There was also, like, breaking wheel, you were tied to a wheel, and then your limbs were shattered with an iron bar. They just really, like, there was multiple versions of this. The bamboo growing through... Oh, that's another one as well. Burning at the stake was a beautiful European tradition. In the 12th to 18th century. Flaying alive. Now, again, I have like a list of 20 of these, and I wanted to get 20 done, but I only managed to get 5, because YouTube decided it wanted to waste my precious time. But flaying alive was often used in Assyria, Persia, China, and very much so later in Europe. Miss Katya, I did a head count of my alkalites, and one is missing. Do you happen to know what happened to the last one? I don't know what you're talking about, Memoria. I have no idea. Like, I'm not sure what happened. Have you tried seeing if maybe they went to like the zoo or something, or maybe they're just, you know, out for a snack, or I don't know. You need to keep better tabs on your creatures, okay? It's not my responsibility to babysit your beasts. Don't look like... There's nothing to look at. What are you talking about? Yeah, no, there's... Now, the rat torture method, as is depicted here, not quite, was a method of execution where they would they would pin a prisoner down, and they would have a metal cage. Sometimes it would be heated up, placed on top of a man's stomach, and there would be rats inside. They would either starve the rats and they would slowly eat the man that way, or they would heat the metal up by placing hot coals or whatnot on top of it, making the rats freak out, scared, and need to escape, and so they would burrow through the human's stomach. What happened to the thumbnail outfit? I was hoping to see that. Thumbnail outfit. Did I fuck up my thumbnail outfit? No, that was for a different stream. Oh, you mean me taking off my jacket? Sometimes life is CBT without the C and the B. You know, you're absolutely right. You would know elf ears. What are you talking about? I've always had elf ears. I mean, no! You're right! It's Halloween! I've got these stick-ons on today. Man! Yeah, no, I fucked up my thumbnail. Alright, so, flaying alive in Persia, sawing in half. The victim... Okay, so this was in Europe and Asia during the medieval period. This was a pretty standard one. They would hang the victim upside down, and they would saw from the groin downward. The reason they did it that way was because the person would stay alive as long as humanly possible. Mm-hmm. Alright. Do you guys really want me to go through this list? I feel like without the rest of the visuals, it's... My gag has become a bit soured. I mean, Ling Chi is kind of fun. Death by 1,000 cuts. Imperial China, condemned was slowly sliced with knives over the course of hours. It was symbolic. It symbolized moral dismemberment. Man, today's really gone to shit. Ah! Boss, we talked about scaphism yet? That was the... Yes, we talked about scaphism. Man. Thank you for joining, Tunes. Wait, what happened to the last one? No, there's necklacing, actually, from apartheid era Africa, South Africa. That one is actually still a method of execution used today, which is quite something. You'd think that barbaric, extremely over-the-top execution methods would be a thing of the past, but no. From the 1980s to current day in South Africa, there's an execution method called necklacing, where they get a rubber tire, they fill it with gasoline, and they place it around the victim's neck, and they set it on fire. Yeah. I didn't know about that till researching today. Yeah, today kind of got nerfed because YouTube is punishing me for some reason. I wonder why. All right. Here's some good arguments, though. So, I'm so sorry, guys. I'm a bit frustrated. I'm not gonna lie. Let's move to my office. It's been a very, very long week, and it's been a very long 2 days. And it's gonna be an even longer week. So, please forgive me for today's scuff. I have no idea why things are turning out the way they do. Katya, it's time to go full wholesome VTuber mode and not offend anyone through this whole stream. Reckon you do that, or is it too much? We'll see. What are you talking about? First off, why would I waste everybody's time doing that? That's like going to the zoo and you walk through the gates expecting to see animals, and instead of animals, you have children in cages. Yes? That's very different from what you came to see. Coming to my stream and asking for me to be a regular wholesome say-so VTuber, a very stereotypical safe gentle one, is identical to going to the zoo and seeing children in cages instead of the animals. Nobody goes to the zoo to see children in cages. They go to the zoo to see the animals. Nobody comes to the stream to see a cute say-so creature. They come to see whatever I've decided I'm going to talk about today. And, yeah, YouTube probably wants me to be say-so. Sace isn't. It's just Monday. Oh, it feels like a lifetime. Hi, boss. How you doing today? My shit has been screwed with, and I'm stamping my foot and a bit flustered because I had these elaborate plans for today's stream, and they've all kind of gone down the drain. Instructions unclear. Something about Katya in a cage. Thank you, Debu.
How often life is begotten accidentally? How can this even be true? Keep the primitives in line.
Here we go. Let's get into the meat of the argument. Life is precious. If you think about how life is begotten accidentally, how can it even be true? Keep the primitives in line. Thank you, Debu. Thank you for the 5, and thank you for properly kicking off the today's topic. There's often a red hair cross.
I found out about some old torture/execution methods because of boss's attacks in Final Fantasy XIV. Heretics fork an intestinal crank along the mentioned breaking wheel.
Yes. Did you guys know that the Iron Maiden actually is contested about how real it could have been? And it's one of those torture methods that you're taught about from an early age. It's like the OG, like, stereotypical torture method. It may actually have been fabricated by the Victorians. They may have come up with it, like faked some aging process and pretended that it was real, like purely for theater. Now, there's no way to actually know that for sure, and again, it's one of those things that's contested. Some people say it's real, some people say that it's one of the very few torture methods we know of that actually could have been artificially, like, created out of nowhere historically for sensationalism. But I find that really fascinating because, again, it's such a huge thing in media. It was actually a fetish machine, and that's crazy. All right. So here's some arguments on my end about why death penalty is a very... It's not just punishment. It's also a tool. So, if the threat of the death penalty is hung over a society, those who are deranged enough to commit the crime will be used as an example, and in return, if that is actually carried through to its conclusion, you will, theoretically, deter others from wanting to follow the same path. Nothing is scarier than knowing that if you're doing something, you're gonna die. Right? Whereas if it's like, well, the punishment for this crime is that you're in jail for 5 to 10 years, you can still, like, you can cut 5 to 10 years out of anybody's life and they could still live a full, entire life to do whatever they want, right? So losing a little bit of time, you can get out and go right back to doing the bad shit you were up to before, right? Whereas, and so they will justify, well, the punishment isn't that bad, so I'm going to commit the crime. Whereas if they know that death penalty is on the other side, far less likely to do it unless it's really dire. Right? Mercy to the guilty is cruelty to the innocent. Absolutely. As well, it's retributive justice. right? Some acts really do require that the person is like killed, because some people are not capable of being rehabilitated, and some crimes are so egregious that anything less than death is actually insulting to the victims of the crime. All right. Now, some may argue, well, what about the victims' families of the perpetrator? Some would say, well, it's more of a punishment if they're in prison for 80 years. And others say, well, no, it's more of a punishment if they're dead. This is more of a gray area, but I personally ascribe to maybe the family wants that person to be tortured over a very long period of time, maybe equivalent to whatever they committed. But there's more danger in allowing somebody that, like, we're in a scenario here where the criminal who is facing the death penalty has been proven beyond a shadow of a doubt they did what they did. Okay, so this is not a, oh, well, what if they were innocent scenario. This is a, they were caught on camera, there was 100 eyewitnesses, and there are permanently damaged victims, some of which could be dead. Right? I agree. I don't want my taxes to pay for someone to have 3 hot meals a day and sit in jail for the rest of their lives. Oh, absolutely. A lot of people, depending on the country you're in, they live better in prison than they do out of prison. Some people reoffend purely to go back into the system so that they have a structure. Kind of like how some people peak in high school because they have that structure they rely on. They have, they have friends that are stuck in that area. They have mandated classes they have to attend every day. So they have time frames that they can work within. They have activities that they're forced to partake in. Some people, that's why high school is hell for some, and that's why it's heaven for others. And there is a very small class of people who will actually reoffend and put themselves back into prison on purpose. Or they will reoffend because they don't know another life outside of prison. It's inefficient. That stuff costs money. In death row, they have to wait a long time anyhow. I mean, we could expedite it. I don't see the harm in expediting death row. Although I suppose the fear of waiting for the day you're gonna die is part of the punishment. You have to remember that some people genuinely don't fear death. Those who commit crimes heinous enough probably don't actually have that kind of emotive response. They're typically very selfish, but they're also kind of psychopathic, right? They don't feel fear, they don't feel happiness, they don't feel empathy, they don't feel sad. So why have them wait for multiple years when they don't see it as a punishment? And don't forget that sometimes you have a sentimental DA that lets them out because they had enough good boy points. Oh, don't even get me started. The prison system is very busted, but I'm here today to talk specifically about why I think death penalties aren't the big boogeyman that everybody likes to claim they are. Hi, Katya. How you doing? The beginning of stream, I had a wonderful intro planned, and YouTube screwed me over multiple times, and so the first 10 minutes of stream, I was kind of flustered. But yes. If, let's say, a horrible criminal is, likely to reoffend, instead of wasting everybody's time and money, just having them permanently sit in a system, and we know that they're likely to reoffend, you just cut the burden off at the roots. Do you think the death penalty should be all around more common, or you think, albeit rare, it should just exist? Thinking about the whole what if innocent scenario. You see, for an ideal system, because I like the idea of a death penalty in an idealized system. In an idealized system, the justice that is carried out has a bit of an overhauling. we take out every, like, we kind of refresh all of those who historically have placed themselves into these positions of power. We remove the corrupted and pathetic judges. We swap them out with people that have fresh educations, fresh graduations, people that are not so hard politically inclined to sympathize with criminals. Because we have a massive problem historically all throughout humanity, all throughout the world, where often people who sympathize with criminals or who have family members that have committed very criminal actions like to position themselves in places of power because they feel as if they can do better because they have empathy. When you're in that kind of position, that is the one position you need a lack of empathy for, I believe. Like, if a psychopath was ever to get into a position of power and have it make sense, I think the best place for a psychopath to be would be to be a judge, would be to be in a criminal justice system, because they are one of the few people that can operate entirely objectively without having emotions cloud their judgment. Which sounds very strange, but you have to remember that even psychopaths are human. And the nature of their existence doesn't make them evil. It doesn't make them bad, it just makes them mentally ill, but it also means that they also have a certain set of skills that have them better suited for different professions. Like, movie villains always are always described to be psychotic or psychopaths, and maybe to a degree, like, a lot of the worst of humanity have those traits, but you have to realize that is not representative of a whole group of people that have a mental illness. More often than not, people like that are living normal, natural lives. And if they're not rewarded for bad behavior, they often develop into some of the smartest, wisest, and most helpful members of society. However, it has to be a psychopath with proper training, proper being reared from childbirth as somebody capable. Now, the cost of keeping reoffenders or people that have committed heinous crimes against morality and against humanity, honestly, is far exceeds what's reasonable for the average taxpayer. When the average taxpayer can't afford to feed themselves these days, especially the class divide is massive. The middle class no longer exists. It's all upper class, like small upper class. I need to fix my posture because I'm running out of breath. Small upper class, massive lower class, and we got a class that's even... the bar is on the floor, and the bar is now seeping through hell. We've got a serf class. Now, we've got a peasant class in what used to be considered a first world set of countries. Testing, 1, 2, 3, hello, Katya Sable. Where's the blackjack table? Well, it's in the casino. We're in my office right now, having a nice heart-to-heart. A lot of successful scientists and artists are psychopaths since the system is not made for them. Yeah, that's a good point, Juan. And have a good one, Rose. They want to get rid of all the peasants and make it all lords and serfs. You see, that is where you would be wrong, because a lord class cannot exist without a peasant serf class. It's been that way ever since kings came into existence, since presidents, since, prime ministers came about, you know, all throughout humanity, all throughout time and existence. It always benefits those at the top to keep things as separated as possible, but you can't abolish the bottom rung, because if you abolish the bottom rung, you have nobody to pay for your lifestyle, and you run out of money very quickly, and you yourself collapse. Besides, if you can't have people underneath you, then who are you on top of? What is a lord without a kingdom? Absolutely. Yet these people think they think they're smart. They think they'll replace peasants with robots. I'm having a bad speaking day, buddy. I'm having a bad speaking day. I mean, there was a guy that made the study on psychopaths since he was one, but he had extremely good parents. He didn't even know he was a psycho. He did studies to help change the psycho stereotype. Life sentence criminals also have to get regular conjugal visits and pass on whatever genetic factors are encouraging their violent and dysfunctional behaviors onto the next generations. All right. I am not on my A game. I'm sorry I keep apologizing, but like, damn. I need to hit something. Get over here. No, you get over here. Do you have good speaking days? You know, psychopaths are not only drawn to positions of power, but often quickly excel in those positions by happily pushing others down along the way. You see, I would think if we facilitated a system where we knew the people in power were going to be psychopaths, and instead of having it such that we allowed them to crush people along the way and instead encouraged them to pursue it because of their baseline talents, there would be less victims of the psychopath, so to speak. Instead, their budding talents would be nurtured. Feeling tipsy, boss? I wish. I haven't touched a drink in months at this point. A psycho society, yes. You know what we need to do? We need to give those psychos a pass. Eh? Eh? Yeah? You know what? You know what? I want to talk about something different. I want to talk about something that makes me happy. Let's talk about those Phase Connect debuts, because those were spectacular. Those were probably my favorite Phase Connect debuts of all time. Katya, why are you talking about Phase? That's like a whole other place, a whole other circus, whole other monkeys. Well, you know what? I've had a very hard week, and that's the only thing that's kept me sane, honestly. I'm going through it. BB Biscuit, though, I was very surprised. Not in a bad way, but like, their budget. I don't know if it was a budget or if it was just like smart allocation of it, but like, Everything, every single person had something that surprised me, something unique, something wonderful. This Phase Connect debut set was what I typically would expect out of something like HoloLive. Unironically, like HoloLive at its peak was this debut set. I don't think I've been this impressed by a debut since Gavis Battle. And it wasn't even just one girl. It was like all of them. Whereas for, you know, that Holostars debut set, like only Gavis and Flayon really impressed me. But this like the Crocodile Girl, incredible. Dog Girl, the fucking Bottle Rocket. I'm waiting for somebody to dox where she was in that video based on the clouds and the blades of grass length. The singing was absolutely immaculate by the Siren. Wilhelma was very sweet. Just... Oh, and the 3D asset blending with the 2D asset? I was sitting there with my jaw on the floor. And the fact that she rigged that model herself. The unemployed has a bad day. What are you talking about, Will? I literally own a casino. I employ others. Holostars impressive, your Yulv genes are showing. Hey now, I didn't say all Holostars debuts were impressive, just those two particular ones, because they were of an obscene quality. Like, no, like the HoloLive girls themselves also have, like, very top shelf debuts. Those were just the first two that came to mind because I rewatched them again recently. Is the casino real, though? Technically still unemployed. What the fuck are you guys talking about? The cover of Error was legendary, yes. When BB came on, that was... I was in the group chat with the other Variance girls. I was spamming. I was like, look at this! She's so cute! Who's your standout favorite? Oh, by a long shot, it was BB. She was my favorite going in, and I was holding my breath, thinking I was going to be disappointed, and coming out, she remained my favorite. Yeah, I saw you in BB's chat. No, you didn't. Always bet on dog. Always bet on dog. No one employed you, so technically unemployed. You shut up! I'm glad there's now a Croc VTuber. I'm sad we missed out on a timeline where we could have both Croc and Shork. Can you imagine? Can you imagine Gura at her peak collaborating with the Croc? I feel like that would have been some kino. We'll be talking VTubers now. Should I leave and watch them now? You... Albinism and death penalties. Hey, Sky. Today's stream didn't end up going as planned because of some issues. Just, YouTube was screwing me over and over and over again. So this has turned into an improv kind of zatsu. Word for the dog, she's coworkers who are Chinese. Did you see in chat the spamming of "I eat people like you"? Oh, I'm used to eating you. Like that was. Memoria said that. Yeah.
Sorry to hear you going through it, boss. Would have loved to talk my favorite methods, but YouTube won't let my messages go through.
It won't let my messages go through either. That was like the big issue trying to set up stream. It would just like keep deleting what I was trying to type in my own chat, and it wouldn't let me pin my own messages. It just gave me the option to ban myself. Anyway, seeing as that you're here, Jeffrey Epstein, did you see that little piece of evidence that got dropped on my channel a couple of days ago? The footage of Fido breaking you out of prison. That was crazy. I haven't seen such a daring escape in years. Yeah, now, YouTube and Twitter are doing massive updates right now behind the scenes with their actual setup, with how they're operating behind the scenes, and it's breaking everybody's stream. Just AI taking over YouTube. Oh, absolutely. Speaking of AI taking over YouTube, I'm getting so much generated.
The girls were great, though my excitement was impacted a bit because the girl I was looking forward to the most had her debut delayed. Hope
Anya.
she can join them soon.
Yeah, Anya is interesting. I don't doubt, from what I hear, that she will actually be properly debuting. There is, like, zero doubt in my mind that she will actually get a proper debut. She's not been removed or cancelled. There is actually just genuine issues behind the scenes, interpersonally over there. Nothing legal, nothing moral, just something genuinely a little tragic. And so I would like those who were looking forward to her to not despair too much, because there is at least a promise of her coming through with a very special debut sooner than later. Do you ever plan to stream on other platforms like Kick and or Twitch? Twitch is kind of killing itself right now. Initially, when I was given the position to stream with the help of VP, they wanted me to only do YouTube. Kick was not on the table. However, with Twitch disintegrating, we were given the option to multi-stream to Twitch after a while, but I just never got around to setting it up. And now seeing it's happening how it is, I'm going to see if I can reopen that conversation. Now, I am not a fan of Kick, not in the slightest. Not, like, for social political reasons. It's just hard to navigate for me. And it's very small. It's a very different kind of crowd and mindset as well. So things that I can kind of do on YouTube, they would be taken very differently over there. So it's about, I don't understand the culture of that website as well as I do understand the culture of YouTube. And I understand the culture of Twitch, but I don't like it. So pandering to Twitch culture is not a priority. So once I figure out what my plans for multi-streaming are going to be, you guys will be told, but at this point in time, it will remain a YouTube supremacist setup. Time to stream on Nico. You know, I actually was wanting to stream on Bilibili. Like, genuinely, I was looking into how to multi-stream to Bilibili. That was one of the things that pre-debut I was actually very invested in trying to set up. However, it's a little difficult because they need a lot of, like, your legal information. They need documents. And then if you're an English speaker, you're not allowed to do it unless you go through an English guild that already exists there. And so there's a lot of bureaucracy to be allowed to stream on Bilibili as an English VTuber. And even then, I don't speak Chinese. I don't I don't, right? So I would need a live translation tool. And
Maybe if you get big
there's no
enough
great
in
ones.
kit, they'll let you get in the Formula 1 car.
Hey, that'd be kind of funny. No other platform even offers transcoding except to established streamers. YouTube offers transcoding and AV1. Yeah. There are folks that multi-stream to Twitch for the sake of different chat censoring, despite sub 60 views versus even 4 digits on YouTube. That is also true. I do have experience multi-streaming to Twitch and YouTube. Again, it's just one of those considerations. I think if I got it to work, my preferred multi-stream site would actually be Bilibili. But depending on how things go, realistically, I will end up sometime down the line multi-streaming to Twitch. Kick, it would have to be an investigation to see what's going on over there currently. Doesn't Twitch have a horrendous rule about not showing YouTube chat? Twitch doesn't enforce anything properly, except for... Oh, I don't even know. Like, just... Twitch... I say what I will about YouTube, they are very solid with their enforcement strategies. And their bots are a lot cleaner and wiser. And you don't have the CEO of YouTube running into random streams and picking and choosing favorites, whereas the CEO of Twitch and those who run Twitch are constantly filtering in and out of streams and jacking themselves off.
Don't worry, we all know YouTube is trying to kill itself, but not as fast as Twitch.
Yeah, no, nobody wants to be on a sinking ship, and I'm not trying to affix myself to the bow of any particular ship. But at this point in time, it just makes more sense for me to focus as heavily as I can on YouTube while looking at other options. And jacking themselves in the literal sense. The fact that he... like, the CEO of Twitch popped in to watch a woman live give birth on stream was insanity to me. That has to violate, like, 100 different policies, but yet, there we are, you know? I don't know if Rumble supports multi-streaming, but it would be absolutely hilarious if he could make it work. Rumble. No, what was the... I think I was looking into Odyssey. I actually have an account on Odyssey that's linked directly to my YouTube, so whenever I upload something on YouTube, it auto-uploads on Odyssey as well. And Odyssey is kind of like a YouTube competitor, like a direct competitor, but nobody uses it. I think I'm like one of 3 VTubers on Odyssey. But all in all, it's a solid website. You know, I haven't actually checked on my Odyssey account in ages. I wonder how it's doing. Boss is streaming on MySpace. Hey, look, at least it's better than the people that were streaming on Tumblr. Tumblr had a streaming service for a while. Oh. Oh boy, I've got 3 whole uploads. I mean, 3 whole followers. My Odyssey account is popping off. That's crazy. Yeah, no, okay, it doesn't support live streaming, but it does auto-upload everything I do. So yeah, if you guys want to follow my Odyssey account... This will always be like a backup. If for some reason I get like absolutely nuked out of orbit, this is kind of like the YouTube equivalent that I have backups on for actual followers. I'm the top Odyssey VTuber. Stop! The way that you're probably right. Hold on. Oh, I'm actually seeing some more VTuber. No, I am not the top Odyssey VTuber. Interesting. There's an art VTuber on Odyssey called Dicebeck. Okay. I haven't checked out stuff in a little while, but it seems like there's a little more of a culture that's growing there now. Well, now I'm very fascinated. Sort by... Interesting. Okay. Sorry, now I got distracted. Top the rankings, top 20. Never heard of Odyssey? It's one of those YouTube competitors. It's very small at the moment, but I have a lot of faith that it'll do well eventually when YouTube kills itself, as long as it markets itself properly. It's nuts to think the #1 VTuber on YouTube is actually a toy and children's content channel. Oh, gross. Really? I haven't even looked into that.
Hi boss, just finished watching the new Chainsaw Man movie. It was great. Driving home.
I'm glad. I haven't actually watched Chainsaw Man. It's one of those new animes that I just haven't really had the time to experience. All things considered, I've only really heard good things about it. Apparently the redhead woman is a rapist, and everybody finds her incredibly attractive. The guy who is the Chainsaw Man has a dog with a chainsaw head. Can someone give me a quick rundown of what is Odyssey exactly? It's basically YouTube. It's a YouTube clone, pretty much, a YouTube competitor. It is a video uploading website, videos and shorts. Odyssey is just another in the lake of websites like BitChute, Vimeo, and Dailymotion. Okay, but unlike Vimeo and Dailymotion, there's a proper effort into making Odyssey look like a YouTube competitor. The other two feel more like repositories than actual interest-gauging websites and places to be. Now she's just manipulative? Okay, again, no, I've never watched Chainsaw Man. Anything I know is through cultural osmosis. Odyssey is decentralized, so there's no company behind it who can fuck with it. That's right.
Boss, quick. Would you rather get hit by a lolification beam or a bimbofication ray?
That's like asking if I want to be dipped in acid or if I want to be set on fire. Huh? Neither of those are appealing to me in the slightest. I don't know, I feel like the easiest to combat would be the bimbofication ray. Because if I was bimbized, so to speak, I'm assuming it would make me blonde. It would make me kind of Gyaru-esque, I suppose. It would make my chest and my hips bigger. so I can always just dress more modestly. Whereas if I was hit with a lullification beam, that actually changes the size and the shape of my limbs, and I can't live without my long legs. No, that would be a tragic experience. I was a child once already. I don't want to be that short again. It also makes you stupid, is the problem. It'd make you gyaru, but also dumber. If I joke. If I make this joke, I know it'll come back to bite me in the ass. But based off of the beginning of stream, do you honest to God think that being hit with a bimbo ray could make me any dumber than I already am? Question is do you age normally after the lullification? Because so it's literally just free extra lifespan. I'm assuming that when they say you're hit with a lullification beam, that they mean it as like a body type and they don't mean it as an age range. Because some people mean both. Some people mean purely you are just turned into a child. I am assuming that they just want to make me into a very tiny, flat woman. So it wouldn't add to my lifespan. It would just rearrange my my structure. Don't sell yourself short. Well, that's what they're trying to make me do. They're trying to make me short. There's no way I could ever be short. That's for those lesser than. You see, I need to be tall. It's a very important thing for me. Would you read us My Immortal for Halloween live? I'm not going to be here on Halloween, but I would absolutely, I'd be down to read you guys My Immortal. Asian Auntie Beam. Oh my god! But yeah, if you're gonna make me pick between the two, what would change my life the least would probably be the Bimbo Beam. That being said, neither are appealing to me. And why would I want to be hit with those beams when it's so much funnier if someone else is hit with the beams? Can you imagine Bimbo Fangsie? Or lullified, like Ava? Those are such like a stark contrast. It would almost be jarring. It would be absurd. Whereas if you do either of them to me, I'm like a weird mid-ground. I'm not an extreme on one side or the other for the kind of person that I am body type or kind of aesthetic-wise. So the shift isn't dramatic enough where it makes an impact. Whereas if you made, like, Fangsie really tall and really buxom, Fangsie would make a really good tomboy. Like a really good, tall, strong tomboy, actually, now that I think about it. Can you imagine tall, strong, sturdy, sporty tomboy Fangsie? That would be kind of peak. But you know what? We don't need to change anybody here because they're lovely the way they are. I think Fangsie is perfect the way she is. I think Ava is a piece of shit and I'm gonna kill her one day. But visually she's not hard to look at. And Memoria. Memoria needs to babysit her owls. Honestly, you don't even need to make Fangsie, like, tall and, like, buxom to make her a tomboy. A tomboy is more about a style. Tomboy is less about a body type. I'm sure that you could take Fangsie's body type and make it tomboy. I mean, she literally went to police academy. She had police training. For a time, she probably was a very sturdy tomboy. The whole time I've known her, I've never seen, like, her musculature. But I don't doubt there was a period of time where she was very muscular. Here's an alternative. Would you rather be hit by a tomboy beam or a Cinderella beam? Now there's an interesting question. Now, There's a difference between what I find attractive and what I think would be attractive on me. I think that I find tomboys very attractive, but I don't know if I would make an attractive tomboy. That's difficult. That's so difficult. Whereas the Cinderella beam, I feel like that would be such a departure from my personality. For the sake of argument, though, for comparison, hit me with the Cinderella beam. Since when did cup size have anything to do with being a tomboy? No, absolutely. That's why I said you could probably make Fangsie a tomboy, or you could make literally anybody a tomboy. Again, it's more about style than body type. Aren't you already a tomboy or a Cinderella? So you go for the opposite for a greater chance of attracting the complementary characteristic? Pretty much. I feel like I'm a weird mixture already of like an auntie and a tomboy. If that makes sense. I'm Unk Tomboy. Is Fangsie not already a tomboy? Fangsie... Fangsie feels more like a trendy California girl than a tomboy. I feel like she has tomboy elements. But I feel like she just needs like a little bit more of a push. Thought you were girl boss? I'll have you know that I'm not a girl boss, I am the boss.
Fangsie as a tall tomboy would probably remind me of Tomoe Umari.
Tomoe Umari is absolutely tomboy. Like, that is textbook tomboy. Tomboy isn't just short hair and unisex clothing, it's a style, attitude, and lifestyle. Yeah. Like, outfit, body type, those could all be interchangeable, but tomboy's an attitude. Unk and Auntie typically refer to permanent bachelors. Well, then I really am Unk, aren't I? You mentioned California, and I puked in my mouth a little. I'm so sorry, Jeffrey. I know that your typical demographic is outside of California. You're more into islanders, right? Winry is a classic example of a tomboy, but still with long hair. Oh, absolutely. Winry Rockbell from Fullmetal Alchemist is a quintessential tomboy, but she's still a very feminine visually kind of character. You don't need to have short hair or to dress masculine to be a tomboy, but those things are typically things that tomboys like to wear. So there is kind of like a tomboy sensibility in a dressing kind of way, but you can absolutely dress like a tomboy, but behave nothing like one. Tomboys are mentally stuck prepubescent mindset where boys and girls play the same games together. Yes and no. It really, really depends on the subtype, the subclass of tomboy, because I feel like tomboys are different across the political spectrum. I feel like those who are hardcore into gender politics, who are also tomboys, are very much so into equity over equality. Whereas tomboys that are more focused on an older way of life and lean right politically are more like daddy's girl, but in a rough way, so to speak. They're less about looking for equity and more about they've just been trained mostly by the male figures in their life. Never seen Tomboy in the Gender Cult? I'm trying to... Well, no. I would... It's very hard to describe exactly what I'm trying to say here. And it's not... gender cult is a very reductive way of talking about this kind of politics. The gender politics, tomboys are taking testosterone now. Again, it's a very large scope conversation that is actually beyond today's stream, that I would actually want time to prepare talking points on instead of just jumping right into it. But I will say that tomboys historically were one very specific kind of person, and in today's society there is actually kind of like a sliding scale of what is and isn't a tomboy, and different flavors of tomboy. And that is entirely dependent on both how they were raised and how they currently live their life. But all the same, I would still consider them a tomboy, just with a different mindset. What would a mama's boy fall under then? Just a mama's boy. You don't just jump into the tomboy debate. No, absolutely. That is not something you just do. Are tomboys Tylenol babies? Tune in next week. Katya stream. No! Farm tomboy versus city tomboy. You know what? That's a better way of putting it. That is a better way of putting it. A farm tomboy versus city tomboy. That kind of perfectly encapsulates the kind of slider. What about a mama's boy who never got to know his mama? That is a guy who is both insecure and wishing for some strong female presence in his life that he has not experienced. And that isn't a judgment, like a moral judgment on this guy, because kind of like how kids need a strong male, like, figure in their life, a lot of people also need a strong female figure in their life. And I don't want to get into the nitty-gritty of the, well, what about this subclass, subtype, what about this specific instance, circumstance. I'm talking about the larger scale majority and not the smatterings of minorities, because if we wanted to get into the microscopic smatterings of minority discussion, then we would be here all day arguing semantics that genuinely don't matter to the overarching meat and point of the discussion. No. And it's not wrong to say that all kinds of people benefit from having a variety of experiences in their life to inform them as they grow up. And there's something very valuable about having a strong male, female roles to help guide them when they're young. And this doesn't mean it has to be their mother and their father. This just means that they have to have a close enough proximity such that they can influence the way that they develop. Like, let's say you're a single father and you're raising a bunch of kids for some reason. You know, a very novel scenario. Them having a female teacher that's around, or them having an auntie that visits a lot, can fulfill that role. It won't be perfect and it won't be the same, but it is a sturdy, separate experience that will slowly help guide them in a direction, as long as they actually have a very strong, bond with the other parent, and they're not entirely passing off all of the parental responsibility to this random female figure. These scenarios I'm pitching now are under the assumption that there is, like, partial stability on one side. Let's say you've only got a mother figure. All right, well, maybe that one guy that you work for, you get a job, baby's first job at 13 years old, you're working at a garage and you're helping a guy who could be your uncle, and he decides to take you under your wing to do apprenticeship work, and he teaches you about the facts of life and some solid ideas and values. You agree with some, you disagree with others, but overall he gives you sturdy influence. That is a good masculine role model. And it doesn't matter if you as a kid are like a little boy or a little girl in that scenario, because you have that variety of experience to inform you. Yeah, I wish I had a chance to know my mother. That's what I was thinking. Still have the father, yet lacking the mother. Like, again, nothing will replace something that is very much so missing in your life if you are missing a critical role. Unless you have, like, a direct replacement. But that is not to say that it is impossible to grow up in a healthy way without it. What I'm speaking to is less about... can you find a perfect replacement, and more about, is there a way that a broken family can still raise a well-developed and stable person with a critical role missing? Now, if you grow up with mommy issues and daddy issues and you don't resolve them, and you don't have a positive influence in your life to counterbalance some of what's missing, you will actually, be emotionally and developmentally stunted in some way or another, because you have lacked that variety of experience. It doesn't make you a bad person, but it does mean that you have to work a lot harder in your life to catch up to those who had those experiences. So, like, vitamin supplements, but for personality. Kinda. I grew up without much interaction with my father, and I turned out okay. Yeah? Good. That's excellent. Again, I don't know what other male role models you had in your life. I don't know the kind of direct influence they had on you. I don't know if you had anything at all. This is more my musings based on observation and not based off of anything entirely scientific. Because I'm not a scientist. I don't have a degree in gender and racial criticality, politics, or whatever. That's not my forte. That's not my specialty. I got my degree in visual arts. I draw. But to be human is to acknowledge and see these experiences play out before you and form your own ideas and opinions based on them. Because if you don't, then how would you ever learn to perpetrate the betterment and further... How would you learn to further humanity if you do not experience humanity yourself? Right? People before me have done it, people after me will do it. And you don't have to be an expert, and you don't have to have a degree to do any of that. It's a lot easier to get better when you have a pre-made map to follow than wander alone by yourself. 100% Frankerzoid. If you read this, you have elf ears. If you read this, Moli Hoto, I hate you and you need to die. Don't worry too much about the science. Over 95% of it is still unproven theory. I'm having such a hard time pronouncing words today. It's actually incredibly insane. You see, I needed to say that disclaimer beforehand because I will inevitably, especially with my latest video popping off, get naysayers and people coming in saying that I have no ground to stand on and I shouldn't be speaking with any kind of authority, of which I am not, by the way. I'm speaking to experiences, not authority. And that I shouldn't have a right to speak. And to that, I say, you don't need a degree to be allowed to speak. That is a heinous thing to propose, especially when it comes down to basic humanity. If that were the case, then nobody, except for, let's say, those who got gender degrees, would be ever allowed to raise children. Straight up. Because you have to make these observations to raise a child. Hey, boss. Hey, Tunes. How are you doing today? Oh, we're doing good, Vinny. People are silencing the most oppressed class of people yet again. The casino owners. Oh, absolutely. Like, poor little old me. Me and my bleeding heart. Video's kind of doing numbers. Let's go. Oh, absolutely. I find it fascinating when a video does numbers, because I will get, some comments here and there, but once it gets picked up by the algorithm, I get the tourists. I get the people who watch not even half the video and the point goes whoosh over their head. It's quite the thing. I've got people accusing me of all sorts of things. They're accusing me of being like horrible, evil, and racist because I say that combining multiple cultures together into one soup is a bad thing because it destroys the uniqueness of the cultures that are going into it. I hardly think it's racist to say, hey, you should be proud of your culture when immigrating to another country and also respect the culture of the country you're moving into and not destroy both cultures by making a slurry. That seems like a bad idea. I think you should preserve your culture and keep it special and wonderful so that it can remain special and wonderful. By making all cultures one homogeneous slop soup, then your culture ceases to exist. Do you really want to be the death of your own culture? But I'm a monster. So maybe they just couldn't look past the fact that I have a genetic birth defect I need to get rid of. I need to get rid of these, and then maybe people will take me more seriously. These stupid flappy pointers. Yeah. As well, then people were also misinterpreting the prostitution argument that I was discussing. They were taking it and running with it, saying that I hate all prostitutes and I think they're stupid monsters that are lazy. Totally missing the point about every other thing that I said and just like narrowing in on me responding to one person's comment. I don't know. I think saying that females are often more prostituted than men and they are often sexually exploited and abused is not as hot of a take as they want to think it is. Women are often sexually exploited and convinced to do things that they otherwise may not have had to do, in the same way that men are financially exploited and made to do things that they often don't need or want to do. To presume that a culture being too special to mix with others is in itself xenophobic. I'm not entirely sure what the structure of that sentence was. Am I having a stroke? Westerns are influenced by samurai movies, and samurai movies are influenced by westerns. But at the end of the day, they're still expressions of respective cultures. You see, that is a very fascinating example of cultural exchange, where both cultural identities are preserved and not destroyed. if everything in the world worked like that, then there wouldn't be any issues. But it's almost like the modern sensibility is that westerns and samurai movies need to be combined, right? Like all cowboys need to have swords, and all samurai need to have guns, and everybody needs to ride the same kind of horse, and they all need to be in Japan and America at the same time. Like, that just destroys what makes the two different pieces of media beautiful and special. The overblending. Mm-hmm. People can celebrate differences. That's not a bad thing. Having everything be the same is devastating. Whatever happened to, like, the early 2000s sentiment where everybody was like, we need to celebrate the differences of different cultures? Like, that was like a huge thing pushed in the early 2000s. Like, early 2000s had such a different flavor of globalization than today's flavor of globalization. 90s and 2000s globalization was, we need to experience other people's cultures and appreciate them. It feels like today's version of globalization is we need to experience other people's cultures and integrate them immediately into your own so that it becomes your culture. And if you don't do that, you're a racist monster because you don't want that culture integrated into yours entirely. It's like, no. If I was going to Africa, I would be going to Africa with the expectation that I would be experiencing African culture, African customs, and following African rules of law. That is not a racist thing to say. But if I went down to Africa and they're serving British food and there's French music playing and everybody is dressed up looking like an American or a Canadian, and they've got Mexican food there, and the only time I see any semblance of original African culture is in some random textile patterns or maybe the flag of the country itself, that is the actual destruction of history, of culture, and it's nothing. There's no point in going there. And the people who live there in the first place have nothing that they can feel proud of, nothing that makes them different or special. And I think that would be a horrible fate for every country to suffer. Kind of like how I don't think that every single religion needs to be in every single country as a main religion. Now, hold on, this one is going to get me in trouble a little bit. But a lot of religions don't coexist together nicely. They don't blend together nicely because at their core, they fight with each other. They see each other in the streets. They have such wildly different views. They are incentivized to fight each other. So, encouraging mosques, temples, churches, different places of worship to all be really next to each other when they shouldn't be, because that'll incite violence within every single community, I think that is the worst thing you could possibly do. Genuinely. I think it's actually, again, it's part of like a nation's culture to keep its religious areas separated from each other. Because again, you want to protect those you care about, and you want to protect what makes each of those religious cultures special. You want to protect their traditions. I mean, hell, there were holy wars fought. Like, do you honestly think that places that want to, like, wage war against each, institutions that historically will wage war against each other, massive bloodbaths, they are predispositioned to hate each other and to commit violence against one another. Whereas if they are within their own space, they're fine. They're happy. They celebrate their lives the way they need to. But forced globalization and the forced kind of crucible of all music, all art, all media, all religions, is just making people hate each other even more. Like, I've never seen such anti-Semitism, like racism, like I've never seen people be so physically abusive to one another as I have in the last 10 years. And the last 10 years is when there was really the biggest push to kind of blend everything into one gloop. And it's not because that, like, every single one of these instances aren't compatible with one another, because I'm certain there are cultures that are very highly compatible with one another. Same with religions. Same with sports. Same with music. Same with all sorts of things. But that ignores the elephant in the room. Anyway. Crusades mentioned in Istanbul should be Constantinople. That was a great song, Epstein. Have you ever watched the Babylonian Bee episode Christianity Light? I actually don't watch Babylonian Bee. That's not, I don't watch much these days of anything.
Reality is not Dungeons and Dragons. We cannot have a temple of Asmatus next to a temple of Tyre. You're going to cause a holy war.
You see, and that's not a hateful thing to say, because if you want to protect culture, protect religions, protect any kind of practice, there needs to be a degree of separation. 90s was the peak of social relations, then people started to inflate the xenophilia bubble harder than 2008. Yeah. Oh yes, Temple of Tyre. Screw you! Screw you! Tyr, whatever! Okay. All hail the Goodyear blimp. Yes, everybody, you know what? You know what? I'm pitching a new religion. A new worldwide religion, okay? We are all going to worship the Goodyear blimp. We are going to resurrect it from the ground up, and we are going to let it sail into the sky, and it will be the new one religion. And we all only eat one food at all times, and we all practice sun salutations at 3 p.m. at night, because that's what the Goodyear blimp would want. And we all listen to the same music at the same time. We listen to I Staple Tapeworms by Passengers of Shit. We do that exactly at 7:38 in the evening, every single day. Yes, and if you don't do all of these things, you will be shot outside of the grocery store. This is the only way to achieve world peace. All hail the Helium Lord. Anyway. Michelin Man is the prophet of Tyre. Shut up! I missed life before Steve Jobs invented the iPhone! Yeah. Passengers of Shit, is that a real band? Hold on. I'm about to put you guys onto Pure Peak. All right. Here, guys, I've got a beautiful song for you. It's our national anthem. Staple Tapeworms on My Penis by Passengers of Shit. Single day, everybody. Don't be late or you're getting shot. Ah, actual penis music. Fascinating. In before the copyright strike. Imagine if that's what took the stream down, and not all the other things. This is Nintendo Core, actually. Yeah, no, the leaked audio from the next Mario game. AM or PM? PM. Oh my god, my second favorite elf VTuber. Well, I'm not an elf, so I'm your first favorite casino tuber. Oh, yeah, no, the background's double. I'm so sorry. There we go, that should be better. Alright, guys. I'm about ready to head out. What do you think? Shall we look for someone to raid? Today was a stream that may be the first one that I actually may have to... No, I'm sure everything I covered today is fine. I'm sure everything will be fine. Nothing ever happens, guys. Nothing ever happens. You may have competition if Bales counts as a gamble tuber. I'll have you know she's Australian. Let's add a redirect. Okay, it looks like Kana is opening Nikkei cards. Let's shoot you guys that way. Fuck off. Oh, Bob Jones. Let's go. Nothing ever happens, guys. Nothing ever happens. I don't think you stepped over any lines myself. Fair enough, I suppose. Man. Well, I'm gonna take the remains of the intro of today's stream and I'm gonna try and put something cohesive together because I was very proud of my plan and my plan went to shit. My plan went to shit and I am just a passenger. Alright. See you guys tomorrow.